fired up. It's made a great decision.
Great teammates, coaches, and other people who want to be Super Bowl champions. And we are. We're going to do it this year.
And we're going places because we want to go places.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another tradition type of video. I'm pretty sure this is a tradition. Not completely sure, but I think it is. Where we take a look at the Detroit Lions Madden ratings heading into each season. I think we've done this the last couple of years. I may be wrong. We may have missed a year. I don't know. But I think in some way, some form, not like this, but we've taken a look at the Madden ratings for the Lions heading into the season. So we're just going to continue to do that. We're going to take a look at the Lions ratings just for the fun of it. This really doesn't matter. This really doesn't mean that much. But I'm sure by now, most of you have seen a lot of the ratings that Lions players have been given heading into the season on Madden, and I know the Lions didn't get some great ratings this year, so we're going to take a look at it. I'll give some of my thoughts on some of the key ratings that stuck out to me, but aside from that, this is just kind of for fun, kind of just a little way to mix it up as we get ready for training camp. I do want to make this clear, if you're not sure, what a Madden rating is, basically Madden, which is the NFL video game, the only one that has the license to the NFL, that's why people get on, I won't go into it, but basically people get on Madden because they're the only one that has this exclusive license to work with the NFL and use NFL's, images and things like that. That's why people get upset because, hey, Madden's the only one that can do that. They don't have competition, so people want it to be very good. I wish franchise mode was better specifically. I mean, to me, that's what I like to play, so I wish that was better. But I ain't going to get onto that. We're going to focus on the player ratings. So again, if you don't know what this is, maybe you haven't played Madden or you just don't know what player ratings are, here's kind of an example, sort of. Basically, Madden ratings, they give each player on every team a rating up to 99. 99 is the max in this year's Madden game. It usually is the max. So that's what they do with each player. Now, on top of that, each rating that they give, like the sub ratings, for example, a sub rating would be strength, agility, catching traffic, and every player has these. So even a quarterback has a rating of catching traffic, but it doesn't affect their overall rating as it would a receiver because it doesn't have that same high percentage. So that's why I show this, because when you see by position groups, for example, quarterback, strength, apparently, according to Madden, they just put this out, does not affect their overall rating. So it really doesn't matter what strength they give the quarterback, it's not going to affect it. Their agility will affect 2% of their overall score versus a running back whose agility will affect 8% of his overall score. All these other X factor and stuff like that goes into it. But we're just going to focus on the ratings today because, yeah, I mean, I think it definitely in some areas it was pretty disrespectful, but I'm not going to go through each one. I'm going to focus on a couple specifics that stuck out to me, and we'll roll through those because the first one, the one that really confuses me, the Lions ratings in order. Again, 99 is the highest. The Lions have one player that's close to that, and these can be updated throughout the season. TJ Hawkinson was given an 89. Frank Ragnow was given an 87. Those are understandable. Deandra Swift an 80. Then they got Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker, both with an 80 overall. Jack Fox is up there, so you like to see that. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 78. DJ Chark 78. Deshaun Elliott 78. And rookie Jameson Williams 78. The next page, we also have Aiden Hutchinson at a 77, which I believe that's the highest rating for any edge rusher coming out of this year's draft class, and it's also the highest rating for any receiver in this year's draft class. So the Detroit Lions have both of those, which is great. I mean, I agree with that, right? I think the Detroit Lions got the best receiver in the draft, and I think they also got the best defender in the draft, at least in terms of edge rushers in this year's draft. So I agree with that. I like it. I think they did us right there. Kayvon was given a 75, and Trayvon Walker was given a 76. Aiden Hutchinson's a 77. So I rock with that. I think he's going to be a dog too. I like that. There are some pretty big movers here in overall for what these players came into Madden 21 rated as versus what they're coming into Madden 22 rated as. For example, TJ Hawkinson moved up 4 overall points. So last season he came in rated as an 85 overall. Now he's at 89. And I'll talk about at the end of the video why I think maybe they do some of the ratings like they do. Notice his awareness is a 92 overall. But I'm not maybe really mad at that. But he was more productive in 2020 season because you know, that was his Pro Bowl season versus this year, but this year he also missed time, specifically at the end of the season due to his injury. So I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised that they moved him up for overall points. He's now a top 5 tight end, maybe because now there's extension talks. However, what I do like is that this TJ Hawkinson overall grade really feels based on the film and not necessarily based on the statistics. Now, film-wise, he needs to drop back on penalties. However, with that being said, TJ Hawkinson can play, and he's really tough to cover one-on-one. So I do like the fact that he was still given love without maybe coming off of his best statistical year. Frank Ragnow went down 1 overall from last season. He didn't really play much last year, so now he's an 87. Deandra Swift went up 2 overall points. Penei Sewell also moved up, which I think was good, but Deandra Swift moved up 2 overall points, and I think that makes a ton of sense based on this last season. I think he showed us a little bit more about what he can be. Again, we need him to be able to play a little bit more, but either way, that went up 2 overall points. Jack Fox last season, he actually went down 1. Jack Fox was an 80, now he's a 79, so they moved that down a little bit. Michael Brockers was probably the biggest mover on here. He is now a 73 versus last year he was an 82. He was an 82 coming into the year after a strong year with the Rams. I think a lot of that was schematic for him, but now he's down to a 73. Really, for the most part, they didn't really show any love to our defensive line. I think Liam McNeil should definitely be higher than Michael Brockers based on how he played last season. Levi's going to be in the 60s. I mean, I get that because he didn't really play that great last year. The entire defensive line really didn't get tons of love, which makes sense. I mean, I understand it. Hey, soon we're going to have Isaiah Buggs on this list, so we'll see what that looks like. The Jared Goff, he is now a 73, and we're going to talk about this one more specifically, but last year he came in as a 77. I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize that's how much he probably dropped during the season throughout their ratings, because I think by the end of the year he was like a 73. Now he's a 72, which I think is just interesting because obviously he came from the Rams, and it just seems like it always seems with quarterbacks, people don't take into account situation. Actually, they do take into account situation, but they take into account situation so they don't always reflect what the player's actual grade is, right? If a player's in a bad situation, yes, he's going to look worse, but does that make the player worse? Not necessarily. There's a lot that goes into it, though, so it makes it really tough to grade a quarterback, things like that. But the point is, last year he came in as a 77, and this year he's now a 72, and I thought it was interesting that in 2018 and 2019, Jared Goff, coming off of 2 good seasons, was an 83 overall, which is the same as what Matthew Stafford was when he was last with the Detroit Lions last season. So I just think that's interesting. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, they had these guys as the same ratings at one point. And I'm sure, you know, during the times that Jared Goff was an 83 for those back-to-back years, they actually may have had above Matthew Stafford. But I don't know. People don't like to hear that, right? They don't like to hear that. No, we all knew Stafford was that guy. Okay, that's what people all want to say. We also continue with Penei Sewell. Like I said, he went up 5. He was a 75. Now he's an 80, so I'm glad they showed him some love. They probably could have shown him a little more love, but I ain't mad at it because I think Taylor Decker deserves to be, you know, right up there with Penei Sewell. I don't know if Decker actually went up, but I hope he did. I think he did. I don't remember him being an 80 last year. And then finally you have Romeo Okwara, another one on here who's now a 76, who didn't really play much last year either, so he's moved down 3 overall spots after coming off a very good season. So we'll see where Romeo Okwara falls because, again, these can be updated. This comes at the cornerback position. This is Jerry Jacobs. All right, here he is, Jerry Jacobs. He was given a 66 overall. All right, now this one I have to start with because this one, to me, when I see this, I'm just confused. I'm overall just confused because I don't really understand what's happening here. It makes me believe as if they didn't even see Jerry Jacobs play last season. I don't want to say they didn't, but it almost makes me believe as if they don't know Jerry Jacobs played last season, the fact that he's a 66 overall. It's strange. It really doesn't make any sense. I'm going to show you why it doesn't make sense because I'm going to show you it amongst other cornerbacks. If they did see Jerry Jacobs, it's crazy disrespectful because there's an argument to be made that he was the best cornerback on the Lions last season, and he played a healthy over 500 defensive snaps last year. So the fact that he's a 66 is mind-blowing to me that it's that low. Like, that's crazy low, and I need to put that in perspective. First off, that's the same overall as A.J. Parker, which to me, I like A.J. Parker, but Jerry Jacobs was much better last season, okay? That's lower than Jeff Okudah, which then brings up the question to me. Here's Jeff Okudah, 70. Where's Jeff Okudah? Jeff Okudah might be a 74. Jeff Okudah is 73. So Jeff Okudah is 73, and Jerry Jacobs is 66. It throws me off because then I start to question, wait, are they projecting this? Are they projecting, hey, this is what these players are going to be? Because in that case, I'm with you. I believe Jeff Okudah is going to be a very good player. But if we're just looking at what they've done, specifically last season, then I have no idea how Jeff Okudah is above Jerry Jacobs. It feels like it's almost just a reputation kind of thing with some of these overalls. Like, hey, he was a high pick. For example, Jared Davis is a 70 overall. And I don't have an issue with that, kind of rating, but I have an issue when it's tied with Big V. I'm like, hold up, how is that? I mean, he wasn't good last year. Like, last year was not a very good season for him. And I did a whole breakdown on him. He was not good last year. He didn't look the same last year. So is this kind of a reputation thing? Is this also a little bit of a projection? Is this, what are we really doing with this? Because Big V had a good season last year at guard for the Lions. I'm going to show you a couple players that are above him, because there's even some that, are above him. I'm like, okay, I get that. But then there's other ones that completely throw me off. Like, the whole idea of it just kind of throws me off. Okay, so first off, we're not even there yet. But you see guys like Kobe Bryant, who has not played a snap in the NFL. Okay, I get it. He was a draft pick. He was a mid-round pick. So maybe that versus being an undrafted free agent is something that they just look at. But that, again, takes me to reputation a little bit. Yeah, he won the award for best cornerback in football last season coming out of college. He was a mid-round pick. Jared Jacobs was an undrafted free agent. But our guy's played a snap in the NFL, and he's played well in the NFL. I'm not saying he's played great, but he's played pretty good in the NFL. The numbers back it up. The PFF grades back it up. The advanced metrics back it up. The film backs it up. And somehow you got these rookies above him. Now, I do understand that rookies will be above guys that have played. It has to be. Aiden Hutchinson 77, he's above Charles Harris. I'm cool with that. Like, I get that side of it. Martin Emerson, another rookie on there. But when we start to get this far down, I really start to get confused, because there are multiple guys above him that haven't even played. This one probably hit me the hardest. Corey Ballentine. Just let that sink in for a second. Corey Ballentine has a higher overall coming into this year than Jerry Jacobs. I mean, I don't... And it's not like his speed rating's even that good. I mean, it's solid. He's kind of fat. He gave him a 90, but it's not like incredible. I don't know how in the world that can be a thing. You remember Corey Ballentine? If you don't, he was on our team last year. He didn't even play on defense for us. He kick return for a little bit, then all of a sudden it became Godwin. That's it. He hit it for a little bit last year. He didn't even play defensively last season for anybody. So I don't understand how in the world that Corey Ballentine is above Jerry Jacobs. And of course, like I said, with the rookies, you have the guys like Cordell Flott, who I think he's going to be a slot out of LSU. Things like that. It's just Amore Davis out of Alabama, another rookie draft pick. It just throws me off. Now, again, some of them I'm not terribly mad at. Like, okay, Robert O'Shell. He played much less than Jerry Jacobs did last season. He didn't play terrible, at least by the statistical standards of it. But he just played much less. His sample size was much smaller. No Vilder. Harrison Hand. Like, how are these players above Jerry Jacobs? Like, there's a lot that just really confuses me with this rating. So that's what throws me off. Now, like I said, Corey Ballentine, he's got 90 overall speed, so maybe he's much faster. He has a little bit better acceleration. Look, Jerry Jacobs got 88 speed, 86 acceleration. I'm going to get into the specifics a little bit when we hit the quarterback position, because I think it's very interesting, and this has been kind of something that's been brought up a lot about how they're actually rating these players and how they're lowering overalls. Where is it at? Man coverage. So his man coverage rating is a 65, and his zone's a 73. I'm not mad saying he's more of a zone archetype, because I think schematically off man coverage, okay, I get it. But at the same time, this dude was a very good man coverage corner. He's very sticky in coverage. I understand he wasn't much of a playmaker, but to give him a 65? Like, what? I mean, this is a player that was plus 22.7 coverage rating, which was 5th in the NFL. He allowed the 10th least amount of separation covering his target last season, 10th least in the NFL. Also, just the basic statistics, he allowed a 90.5 pass rating, a sub 60% completion percentage. Pro Football Focus, if you want to go that direction, gave him a 66.7 in coverage, which is much better than a lot of these players above him. The only reason I bring up these stats and grades and things like that is just because if you don't trust what I'm saying, from my film review, it's not even close. Jerry Jacobs was way higher than this, and that he was that good last season. Just look at the PFF. PFF's the same thing. They have him graded above Tre'Davious White, who in the game is a 93 overall. Greedy Williams, who's a 76 overall. 93 overall. Jack Jones, another rookie here. Patriots. Love Jacoby Durant. Jacoby Durant was, I mean, look, let me calm down. Jacoby Durant on South Carolina State, you're telling me? I mean, hey, why are they on the same level, man? I mean, I watched Jacoby Durant coming out of college, and y'all need to stop. At the same time, 66, man, it ain't being biased to say, hey, can we at least, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, the guy played over 500 snaps. You could argue who's better than Amani last year. Amani had picks. He made plays on the football. But coverage, like, hey, this guy was good last season. So I don't understand it. We know he's a great tackler. Big V. And the reason I bring up Big V is because, well, first off, as a guy that plays Madden, plays franchise mode, it always frustrates me when I play Madden, and for some reason, Big V can't be a starter. Why can't he be? Big V's never a starter on Madden because he's so darn bad. His overall's so low, he'll come in as a backup. He won't even start. At least they have him listed at right guard. I don't know if they had that last season. But they gave Big V a 70, which I believe is a little bit higher than what he was last year. So, okay, they moved it up. I mean, I think a little bit. But still, some of these throw me off. How in the world is Alex Leatherwood a higher overall? You mean the guy did a lot of 8 sacks last year? I mean, look, I'm not saying he's not getting better. You know, he wasn't a good draft pick initially, and now he's going to guard. But how is he above Big V that allowed 0 sacks last season? I mean, he allowed 0 sacks last season. He played really well. Now, he's getting paid top 10 guard salary. Could he be getting paid a little bit too much for that spot? Possibly, because he was signed to be a tackle. But it doesn't make sense to me. Will Hernandez, you know, the guy that gave up 7 sacks last year, I think they moved it up a little bit, which I'm hoping that at least he comes in as a starter. But to me, this is extremely disrespectful. You know, to act like maybe, where was Jonah Jackson rated? That's what, you know what, I haven't even seen this yet, but now that we're getting into it, I just want to know, where is Jonah Jackson rated? Because, you know, Jonah Jackson was a Pro Bowler, so I'm going to assume that they showed him a lot of love because, you know, he's got some recognition, some name recognition now around him now after what he did last season. Maybe not, though. 74, that's still kind of low. That's still kind of low, but I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at 74 for him. I mean, you know, it's still kind of low, but 70 for Big V, are we serious? Personally would like to see Big V in like the Austin Corbett type of range, like a 76 overall at least. And then it also throws me off that his awareness is way lower than Jonah Jackson, especially when you talk about pass protection. I mean, I don't get it. If awareness plays into pass protection here for offensive linemen, which I've seen a video and it kind of says that it doesn't do anything. If it did though, if the theory is that it does, come on, man. We gotta stop. We gotta stop. And that's no disrespect to Jonah, because Jonah can play, and I love Jonah, but it just doesn't make sense. It's just more of pointing out the disrespect that Big V is getting right here. Try Turner was on the first page. Remember that guy couldn't find a job? I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad guard. I'm just saying it doesn't make any sense to me to know where this thing is going. And that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, they gave Jameson a 78. I love that. You know, they put him at the same rating as St. Brown. That's fine. They gave DJ Chark a 78. I'm cool with that. I'm not mad at really the entirety of the Lions receiver rankings, aside for the fact that I do believe that St. Brown is too low. I mean, I just think he's too low. I mean, St. Brown's a 78, and immediately you have Sammy Watkins above him. I stop right there. How in the world is Sammy Watkins a higher overall than Amon-Ra St. Brown? Like, in what way is Sammy Watkins better? I know I know he's only played a year, but like, how in the world? Like, they're just right there. It throws me off. And I see Kadarius Toney. I'm just like, I don't really understand it. Now, Darnell Mooney, right? Darnell Mooney had 1,000 yards last season. He probably should be higher. He should probably be higher than Juju Smith-Schuster, who hasn't hit 1,000 yards in years. I just don't get it. Some of these I just don't get, right? I mean, Darnell Mooney's a good receiver. But Juju Smith-Schuster is on a good team in Kansas City. And he may not be their top receiver, but to keep that team overall higher, he has to have a pretty solid rating, right? If he has a lower rating than some of the other guys, then obviously their team overall will be pushed down. If we give guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown or Big V legitimate grades, 75 plus, then at that point the team overall is going to go up, and now it won't match where they want to put our team overall at. I almost feel like a lot of these ratings were trying to get to a certain number for team overall, that way it makes sense, rather than just putting in player ratings and seeing what the team overall comes out to be. It was almost like there was always the mission of, okay, we want to make sure that the team overall for the Lions is here, which is, I believe, 27th in the NFL. They're a 78 overall team that's below the Panthers. All right, so, you know, I think that's where the ratings try to tie in, because it's mathematical. It's a calculator that takes all the player ratings and it comes out with a team rating, from my understanding. Deshaun Elliott's a little bit higher overall than Tracy Walker. I can understand why you maybe why I'd look back and say I don't really like that either. But okay, I'm not mad at it because there's a 1 overall difference. They're very similar. But I want to talk about the quarterback situation. And honestly, not because I'm like, oh, I'm mad that Jared Goff got a 72. I'm just trying to figure out the rating side. I'm not mad that Jared Goff got a 32 because I'm not surprised that he got a 32. I mean, not a 30. I'm a 32. I'd be mad if he got a 32. A 72. I'm not mad because I'm not surprised. I came across something that I think is kind of interesting. I think it's very interesting, actually. And when you find Jared Goff and you look at his rating and how they did it, I think for the most part, actually, I don't completely disagree with their rating of Jared Goff across the board. Their overall rating, I don't love it, but I actually don't completely disagree with how they got to their rating, if that makes any sense. Let me show you. So Jared Goff is a 72 overall. Now, yes, do I believe Zach Wilson should be above Jared Goff? Absolutely not. Doesn't make any sense. I think Carson Wentz probably a little too low. Do I believe Justin Fields should be above Goff? No. Do I believe Tua should be above Goff? Stop it. Teddy Bridgewater? I mean, what are we doing here? Like, that stuff, yeah, I mean, should it be the same over Trey Lance? No. I mean, come on now. But when you look at the individual ratings, I start going through it. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Hold up. This isn't terrible. He's got 89 throw power, which is actually higher than I expected. 89 throw power, which apparently is a very big stat for quarterbacks. It's higher than Teddy Bridgewater. And I'm like, that's solid. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He's got a solid arm, but it's not the biggest arm. I'm cool with 89 throw power, right? I was actually a little surprised to see it that high. Then you look at some of the other stats. They don't really order these. They kind of order them the same all the time. So let me find them. Throw under pressure. Okay, throw under pressure. They have him at an 80. Okay, I mean that's not terrible. So you have 89 throw power. You have an 80 throw under pressure. Let's take a look at his. Short accuracy rating. They gave him a 93 short accuracy rating. That's the best on this page. Short accuracy rating, 93. They gave him a lot of love there. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. 93, that's pretty darn good. Medium accuracy rating, 82. I'm not mad at it, right? I mean, I'm like, okay, that's not bad. Because, again, we're keeping in mind his overall rating is a 72. So they gave him an 82 medium accuracy. Deep accuracy, they gave him a 79. Would I like it higher? Yes, because I think he can throw a deep ball. It's just he throws it in a different way. He's not going to throw it late in the play. He's not going to improvise it, but he can throw a deep ball, especially to the right. He's much more consistent over there, it seems. So, again, I'm not mad looking at all these overall ratings. I'm not going to play action rating an 87. I'm like, there you go. That's some love. I think skill set wise, he can definitely perform in a play action offense, as we've seen, but I think he can perform outside of that, as we saw with Ben Johnson, which was not all based around play action. But I do understand it. They gave him an 87. I like that. Throwing the run, they gave him an 86. I'm looking at that. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold up. I mean, we all understand he's not the most biggest improviser, but he's made plays here and there. I mean, there was the one against Chicago where he was like juking out guy through the seat. It's like, where did that come from? And there's also the time that he broke a sack and then got sacked again. I actually think that's a very solid, good rating for him, because if you watch him, I think what they're looking at is play action rollouts, bootlegs, things like that. His ability to throw and a run. He can throw from multiple arm angles. He's usually pretty darn accurate. Sometimes he needs to take a little bit more risk there, and I think he will next season with the weapons that he'll have. But I'm like, hey, so I'm looking across the board at these stats. I'm like, these are actually good numbers. Why in the world is his overall grade so low? Then it hits me. His awareness rating. I gave him a 63 awareness rating. Now, this is something that apparently, and look, that's way lower than Davis Mills. Now, this is apparently something, and Zach Wilson, same as Justin Fields. This apparently is something that has been debated before. And first off, awareness, from my understanding, doing the research, awareness doesn't matter if you're playing as a player. So if you're playing Madden and you're Jared Goff, he actually probably won't be very bad. He'll probably be pretty solid. He just won't be great in terms of CPU simming because his awareness is not very good, which, again, from the research, there's never a clear example on this, but they say how willing a player is to throw in coverage. And I don't think Goff throws into coverage that often. I think sometimes he makes bad reads, but I don't think he tries to force passes into coverage. How often they audible, so that's a simming thing. That's not me playing. I can audible as much as I want with Goff. But when you're simulating, how often, if you're like watching it, we used to do that, will Jared Goff make an audible at the line of scrimmage? His awareness rating, I believe, has to be like a 90 plus for that. Some people say it's for throwaway, things like that. I don't know. The point is, though, his awareness grade is extremely low. Now, I'm actually not mad with his awareness grade being low, because I think the point that I make about him needing Ben Johnson in this offense scheme is that he needs a guy to challenge him, but also give him and help him find the answers where he can improve his awareness and build on that, because I don't think he's never been forced to. I think they've kind of kept him out of those positions to force him into making all the changes and things happen on the fly. I think you have to put that stuff on his plate, and I think Ben Johnson has done a good job from what I saw last year, and I think that's what Jared Goff needs, is a little bit more control. Not having a guy in your ear that tells you what you're seeing. For awareness, for being able to respond to blitzes, disguises in coverage, things like that, finding answers, I always say that. I think that needs to be better. So I'm not mad with the fact that his awareness grade is low. Now, we did see with Ben Johnson from week 12 to week 18 that awareness-wise, he was much better. He was moving out of pressure. I mean, there was the play against Arizona, perfect example, right? Bring the blitz from the interior, they drop two defensive ends, he goes right over the middle. There was definitely much better awareness, so I feel like this is still low. But from what I've gathered is that the awareness rating, a lot of people believe, is just low because what it can do, and it has such a big impact, specifically on offensive positions and their overalls, that it can just really lower a player's overall rating. So even though all those ratings I said to you are pretty good, 89 throw power, 93 short throw, 82 medium throw, 79 deep accuracy, 87 play action, 86 throw on the run, 80 throw under pressure, but he has 63 awareness. Now, to put that in perspective of how low his awareness actually is, it's incredibly low. Like, you would have to go so far down to find his awareness. We're talking 63. Now, hey, now look at the players that are on this list right now. Kyle Trask, Matt Barkley, PJ Walker, Ryan Griffin. Tyrod Taylor's way too low. I mean, Drew Lock, because Tyrod Taylor will probably have a good overall because his attributes athletically, he can do some things. So again, to me, I believe the awareness is just so that they can lower certain players overall. And that seems to be, and again, I agree, the awareness probably shouldn't be very high, maybe higher than this, but I think that's how you do it. He should not have the same awareness as David Blau, like based on what, so to me, that's from my understanding is why that's so low, because I mean, it's behind, like, for example, Mitchell Trubisky, right? Maybe they're just pulling down his grade by lowering his awareness. That seems to be kind of what they did here with Jared Goff. And again, I'm not saying he should have a high awareness rating. I just said that he needs to improve in this area. Even though he did a little bit towards the end of the year, he needs to improve here. It's the reason why when he played Miami in the past, he got killed. He got killed when they just blitzed him, zero blitz over and over and over and over. But also keep in mind, this is Jared Goff's lowest overall ever. From the research I've found, this is his lowest overall ever coming into the year. Lower than 2017, excuse me. Reason I say that, 2017 would have been coming off of 2016. But this is his lowest overall, including 2017 where he was a 73 overall. So you're telling me he had a high overall after one of the worst rookie seasons we've ever seen. He went 0-7. I mean, it was awful. It was an awful year for that team. He was very bad his rookie year. The coaches got fired after the season. You're telling me that he has a lower overall now than then? Like, to me, that's just where I'm like, whoa. So that seems to be what it is. I mean, it seems to be. That's kind of what I've come to. I could be wrong on that. So I'm not even going to get too mad about these ratings because to me, it seems like the whole idea was we have to get the Lions team overall rating into this certain category. So if we have too many players like Big V at 75, like, St. Brown at 82, if we have too many of these, Jerry Jacobs at 73, 74, if we have too many of these guys in that range, then all of a sudden what it's going to do is it's going to move up their team rating above teams that they weren't better than last season. The Lions being in 27th is kind of putting in what they were last year. They won 3 games. So that seems to be why they have the ratings like they are from my understanding. Because again, as much as I think Okudah is going to be very good based on last year, how can you say that he has a higher overall than Jerry Jacobs? 2020 wasn't a great statistical year. 2021, he played 3 quarters. How does he have a higher overall than Jeff Okudah? Like, how does he have a lower overall than Jeff Okudah? That doesn't make any sense. Overall, it definitely seems to matter, what the reputation is, where you were picked, right? Because obviously he was a top 3 pick, so he's kind of went down since then, but he still has a reasonable rating because of that and the potential, which I'm not mad at. I understand because I think he'll be a very good player. I think I had him as one of our top 10 players this season. Entire cornerback room, that's kind of how it works. Like Bobby Price, he was given a 51 awareness. Why was he given a 51 awareness? Because it lowers his overall grade, and it's a very big impact on a player's grade. But the good thing is that Jared Goff having a low awareness grade, it's not really going to hurt if you're playing the game because you're playing it. So it looks like if you're just usering the guy, which you will if you play Madden, he's actually going to be pretty solid for you. So that's the upside, is that your player won't be that bad. He won't be. Just, his overall number looks bad, and it will affect him if you try to sim games because they need the Lions to lose games. If you sim a game of Madden, if you sim a season of Madden with the Lions team, I'm going to bet that majority of the time they're winning 5-6 games. Majority of the time. So to keep them in that range, they can't have the team overall being 83 because then they'll win 9-10 games, and then it just doesn't match up with where they want to have them ranked as a team. That's kind of my thoughts on the whole thing. I'll show you the cornerback real quick just to show you what I'm talking about with our cornerback position. I could be wrong, but that's just what it seems like because I look at cornerback, our team, and you see Chase Lucas, right? Look at Chase Lucas's awareness. 61, right? This is a very instinctual, smart player. Mark Gilbert's a 63. Bobby Price is a 51. Savion Smith a 56. Jeff Okudah is a 74, however. Awareness 82 there. Mike Hughes 76, which I'm not mad with awareness. I'm not mad with Mike Hughes being a 78 actually because he did have a good season last year. So overall, the ratings just confuse me. So I'm not going to really go too much into it because I don't really know what to say about it. I'm just kind of confused. I don't really understand how they make the ratings, I guess. But we'll go through them all real quick. So you can see the first list. Who else should be up there? I mean, like I said, Tracy Walker could probably be up here somewhere. St. Brown, I think, should be much higher. I think I had St. Brown as our, way up here, so I would put St. Brown way higher. But in terms of just throwing out the overalls for a second, who should be on this side? I think Tracy Walker would be the other guy that you would probably put in there, as well as Amani would probably probably have to be in there after last year, just based on last year. Going forward, though, I have Jeff Okudah probably up there. I'm not mad at, though, Mike Hughes, Aiden Hutchinson, Amani. I'm not mad at where they are. I just don't think the ratings make a ton of sense. I'm not mad at where they are amongst their team in some ways, other than the ratings. Now, some of the ratings I am mad about, like the Jerry Jacobs and the Big V, I just don't get it. Josh Reynolds is 73. Like, how can Josh Reynolds be a 73 and Amon-Ra St. Brown be a 78? So you're telling me those were our top 2 receivers last year, and Jared Goff is a 72. Don't they realize, like, hey, the position you're in matters? I mean, it really does. It matters a lot what position you're in, like the situation that you're in. If they think the situation was that bad, why would Jared Goff be so low? Again, it doesn't seem like they think Jared Goff is that bad because his traits are pretty good, but again, it's just lowering his overall. Michael Brockers, I'm cool with him being a 73. However, I think Aleem McNeil should be higher than Michael Brockers. We talked about Goff, Khalif Raymond. Okay, that's fine. I don't know where Riley Patterson is, but I would think he'd be very similar to Austin Seibert, but Austin Seibert has a bigger leg, so that's probably why that's there. And I don't know if awareness affects kickers at all. He's got what does he got for awareness? Austin Seibert's got a 30. No, he's got a 58 awareness. Okay. Rusty's I'm not too mad at. Will Harris, I don't really know how you he should have a higher awareness. Will Harris is one that to me should have higher awareness. 65, that's not that high. He should have higher awareness to me. I think he's a pretty smart player, especially from cornerback. He was very smart. But then when I see guys like Devin Funchess with a higher overall than Jerry Jacobs, I'm just like, I don't understand this at all. How in the world can Devin Funchess have a higher overall than Jerry Jacobs? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And this is just based on the facts. That doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, you got Jason Kibita at 65. I'm pretty sure that's just a carryover. I think a lot of these carried over from last year. And then the rookies seem to kind of just, for the most part, have like, hey, you're this. Like if you're drafted round 3, you're probably this. They gave Malik Willis a 69 overall. I mean, that's kind of high. That feels like it's kind of high. But I guess maybe because it's a quarterback, there wasn't really many quarterbacks drafted this year. Like, how would that compare to Matt Corral? Matt Corral was... Sorry, I'm not even thinking. Matt Corral is a 68. Okay, so they're similar. So I would just assume that they're pretty similar based on where they were drafted at. High rookies, they're going to have higher grades, and they're going to go above other players. Headline big-name players for every team, TJ Hawkinson, Deandra Swift, they're going to be their highest overalls. And unfortunately, it just looks like a lot of role pieces. And if you're a good team, maybe they'll get higher overalls to push up your team's rating. If you're a bad team, I guess they'll probably be lower so you can lower the team's rating. In our case, 78 overall, putting us 27th. Not mad about it. I'm kind of confused about it, but nothing that I didn't expect. I came in expecting that this is what the Lions overalls were going to be. I was hoping for more for Jacobs. I was hoping for more for Big V specifically, but I definitely came in expecting that Jared Goff was going to get that kind. By the way, that's like one of the lowest starters in the NFL. It's like 29th or 30th. But, I mean, hey, we all expected that, right? Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.